periods of work, or they're in a phase in their life where they are not relating, you know, because, and that's why I'm such a big advocate of psychological wellness, because when you go into psychology, it helps you decipher, Guti, am I feeling and thinking what I'm thinking because actually I'm stuck and I'm needing to change? Because when we are forced to change, we have to go through an awakening process. So can you then tell us, when you go through a psychological process and you're starting to understand self, where does it become, where do you get your aha moment, the difference between somebody who's just going through an awakening because they are actually not living their call, as in we are all here to serve a purpose. You said earlier on that we are actually expressions of God. When Donald Walsh, the guy who wrote Conversations with God, says we are all expressions of God. Genesis speaks to we are made in the image of and likeness of God. So in our essence, we are all God. So God has made replicas of, you know, themselves through us to self-experience God's self in human form, in plant form, in animal form. So I want to be able to be very clear to people, because some people go through what we call midlife crisis and they think they're ancestral callings. How do you then distinguish between a spiritual calling to be a Sangoma and just a normal midlife crisis?
It will be a content when I go.
Yes.
You know, when you are being called, or let's just say when your unconscious opens up, it is what it is buried in your unconscious that will say you are a healer.
Yeah.
It's what you will begin to see about yourself, what you discover in your unconscious. Having all these symptoms does not necessarily mean that you are called to become Isangoma. It is those peculiar dreams that Isangoma will have. Dreaming about water and animals only does not necessarily mean that you are by Isangoma. It can simply mean that you are connecting with your ancestors in all different forms. It is what the messages that you will receive. For example, in my case, I had a vivid dream. You know, the big dreams, actually.
Yes.
Where you will be given a clear message, you know, this is what needs to happen and this is who you are.
Yeah.
You know, there's that and many other things that you as ukobela or a healer also and find this, when you're having a conversation with this person and say, have you seen 1, 2, 3? And the person says, yes, I dreamt about it. So there are those things.
That's what, you know, I think I like this, Gogo, because that's what I always say to people. If you haven't experienced dreams, it doesn't qualify you to go and initiate. Because the dreams you get as a Sangoma are the language of the spirit, helping you navigate the complexities of life on your behalf and on those who are seeking your services. Because a healer is one that facilitates. A healer is one that makes easier. A healer is one that helps others make sense of things that they can't make sense of. So if you have not had vivid dreams yet, that actually when you dream about something, it comes to pass, or you dream of symbols and then they end up connecting and giving a deeper message, you don't qualify yet to go through initiation process. And I get into a lot of trouble with other Sangomas or other Gobelas to say, this Gogo who teaches you to dream. Because I'm saying that in this day and age with so much that's happening, you cannot afford to miss the mark. Because the minute you go through this process and you are not meant to go through it, or it was not time yet. Because I think divine timing, which I call dozy timing, is what impacts people's psychological well-being. It's what actually makes people not pull through the process, because we must be truthful, Gogo. This process is traumatic. Going through your thwasa is traumatic. Can we speak about the traumas of initiation before we can speak about how do the traumas gift us the gift of knowing thyself at a higher level?
Okay. Which trauma? Now, when you say the traumas of initiation, I'm talking about when a person is a patron or outside.
Yes.
Both. Are we talking about both now?
Yes. Sorry, I missed you. There was a car that was passing, so I missed you.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was saying, are you talking about...
I think speak of both, because I think prior going a patron is important, and during patron is also important. And then, you know, if we don't get time, we're going to have part 2 of this conversation, because I think it's very important, where we can speak about life after patron, because there's also people who want to know, how do I psychologically cope with this new identity that has emerged. So I'm no longer just Dineo, an ordinary person. Gogo, and there are demeanors and ways of being that I need to carry myself. And sometimes it feels like it contradicts with my aspirations or who I was. We can speak about that later. I think let's focus about psychology before and also in Petro.
Yeah. So as you are transitioning, you discover things about yourself, things that you never knew about yourself, and things that you hated or abhorred about other people. You know, for example, you grow up as knowing yourself as a Christian, educated. You are going to be a clinical psychologist. Boom, you discover there's a primitive man inside of you. You know, and you discover that actually being a psychologist or an accountant is not that important to you than being who you are. But also there's a problem, will I be accepted by people?
Yes.
There's a problem of responsibilities. Oh my goodness, I have the entire family depending on me. Because truly speaking, when you're going through this process, it becomes difficult to do your normal functions. You know, your daily things, it becomes difficult to do them. It becomes difficult to go to the boardroom. Sometimes it becomes difficult to think. And now you're expected to write a report and you're sitting there and all of a sudden it's and you're like, what's going on? You know?
My English just disappears after 3 p.m. when I'm doing my facilitation work. I say it all the time. I'm like, after 3 p.m., those who know how to speak English cannot disappear.
It disappears, Gogo. It disappears. And you're sitting there. During my internship, I would stand after seeing a patient and I'm supposed to write few lines. Would have seen this patient and whatever, a note for the doctor. And I could not even spell yesterday. And you're thinking, how do I spell yesterday? So these are just extreme examples that I'm giving you. But it shows how disturbing this becomes on your entire psyche. Because the stuff that is coming out deep from your unconscious coming into your conscious, and it calls it disturbance with your whole functions. Ideally, a person who goes through this will be forever secluded from the family, like they used to do it long time ago, and be relieved of the normal social functions for a year or even 2. But we do not have that luxury.
Yes.
We don't have that luxury. That is why then the help of a psychologist speaking to someone so that you can make sense of these things and so that you can at least master how to straddle both worlds. Because this is our main source of pain in this lifetime.
Yeah.
We have to straddle this both worlds during and before you're in a petroni, even when you are a petroni, you still have to go to work and come back. So, you know.
Exactly. And you see, the thing is that because remember, we are petroni, I remember how I used to struggle. Because there's lack of sleep. That's a given when you go a petroni. And there's early mornings that you have to wake up and you just bath with cold water and you have to do a physical activity as a ritual of awakening to ancestors. And especially for those who sit in boardrooms or have to do a lot of cognitive work, right? And then I would get into a meeting, and at the time I was an office manager. I needed to run an office, and I'd get into a meeting and would be sitting in the boardroom, and I could feel this intensity of sleep to a point where Kumbula, one time I woke up holding an apple like this, just trying to keep myself awake. I would sleep at traffic lights and at my robot. And you're right, we don't have the luxury because we also understand it requires money because everything you buy, not even about paying your kobela, just the beads you need to get, the cloth you need to acquire,
and the cloth.
You know, there's costs in that go with this thing. So you need to be able to juggle those two worlds anyway. So you're right that you have to live in two realities, unlike before where you would be secluded for a year or 2 years to go do the training that you're requiring to do. But now you have to be in the workspace and do the training. And now we work in spaces that don't understand who we are becoming, because now you are coming, you no longer Dineo with a suit and a tie. You have to come in and to cover your tumani on the hair. It's a lot of things. And it also works, not only your psyche is connected to a sense of self. who you are. So you
True.
start to question your worthiness. You start to question your value in the company.
Your identity. Right? Who am I actually? When you're being stripped of this old identity that you have created for so long, from the moment you were born, you started creating this identity. All of a sudden, you are being stripped of it. So I used to sit and cry and weep and say, I don't know. Because you get to the point where you know nothing. You realize everything that I have known about life was false. I know nothing. You become empty, you know? So because the whole process now of being a pathway, everything that you are taken through, even waking up about 3 a.m., go to a thwasa idlos, meaning wake your spirit up. You are being trained to transcend into your spirit self, and upume on your own command. You are being taught how to be in control of idlozi instead of idlozi controlling you. Because what people normally complain about, people who live with someone or thwasayo, is that this person has changed, this person is difficult, you know? It is because a personality of this person inside you is different from this one that was shaped by society. Your true self is not submissive.
Your true self is not submissive.
It's not submissive, but you were groomed to become submissive. All of a sudden, because there's this part, you are in your true self, which was in your unconscious, is now in your conscious mind. You act as your true self. When people start to see this and they say you've changed, you're very difficult. You know? So everything that is done is also not easy.
Yes.
Because how you are taught there. And it made sense for me afterwards. Why Ukobela expected me to know things without telling me.
Yes.
It's because they understand ukuthi idlozi elukuwe knows. So you are expected to connect with idlozi lakho and talk to people and give them a message that comes from your higher self. You know? And that is why abanye ugobela uzothi anithole nihleli athi nisahleli bekufanele ngabe kuqubuka amadlozi before kungena. So which means you should have known that I'm on my way now. How come? They even say you must have eyes ngaphambili nangasemuva.
I used to get that a lot, because by the time the gobela comes, you have to have evoked. But what it teaches me, because to connect to your higher self is about being present. Because when you say petroli, the reason you are also asked to detach from the outside world is because it's chaotic, right? It's chaotic in the outside world, because it's also full of false identities that you don't want to identify with here. Because you are retreating from the world to go deeply within, to connect to your higher self, which that identity is the one that is one with God. Because at your God identity, you are so tuned in, you sense, you see things before they even happen. Because how I knew Ugutu Kobela Megazofik, before she even would tell, by the time she comes, because it teaches you how to dance in your divinity and your humanity as a human being. And that's the power of going a patron, and why the strictness, and why the discipline, and why the harsh thing. So I want you to speak about why is it difficult for our true self, which I call it's even our false self, because that's our ego, than our higher self, which is actually the true self. Why is it our ego? Why is it difficult for us to surrender? Why is it difficult for us to submit to the process of repair?